Unmute me.
All right, it's on. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay, hi everyone.
Good evening.
Oh,
Good evening.
Okay, this is like I said last week. It's a blessing to be here, and I'm honored, and you know, I've been hearing that everyone was received it well, and that I was telling the pastor that it made my heart glad to hear that everyone was receptive of it. And so last week, Janine, you remember, everyone remembers Janine. She's on tonight. And she went through all of the 5 steps for the next coming weeks, this being week 2, which is the next area that we're going to speak about. And Pastor already prepped you with saying that we're going to talk about budgeting. And I know that's not necessarily one of the fun topics that everyone gathers around the Thanksgiving table to talk about, but it is a necessary topic. Before I begin, I just wanted to throw it out there. Did anyone have any questions or comments about what we went over last week, or any of the homework that they were looking at, the scriptures, or any of those in those areas before we jump in?
I just wanted to mention, we were talking about it before we got started, how often the Bible speaks about money and finance.
Mhm.
And we could just, from the handout, we just see so many areas that scripture really speaks to how we utilize money, how we should be utilizing our resources. And so we're just grateful. We were grateful for that handout.
Right. Yeah, because I was just telling Pastor, I said, no matter what level you are, when we're talking about budgeting and money, we're all stewards of what God has given us and gifted us with the ability to go out and do. And no matter what level you are, you're always looking at budgeting. You're always having an accounting. Even the billionaires has an accountant to make sure everything stays on track. So whatever level you are, budgeting and accountability is key. Okay. So with that, and no one else has anything else to add, because I guess Pastor kind of summed it up with what he was sharing, I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, share screen. And there we go. Let me turn it into from the beginning. All right, can you all, whoops, let's see, from the beginning. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
yes.
Great. Okay. All right. As I said, we were saying budgeting. It is not a dirty word. It's not necessarily, like I said, it's not necessarily the most popular topic to talk about, but it's a necessary one. And there's 6, we're going to talk about 6 simple steps to help you create a budget and help free up money for the future. Last week, I mentioned about when I was working with nonprofit, and we were meeting with people that were having issues with their mortgages and rent and all of that, and in process of purchasing homes or whatever. And something as simple as $200 would have allowed them to make the purchase and or keep their home, where it didn't have to go through the actual foreclosure process. So budgeting, when we started looking at their budgeting, we put things in place to help make that so that even after they got a modification, they were able to maintain where they were, because we showed them how to stick with something that was comfortable and realistic for them to follow. Okay, 6 simple steps to help you create a budget and free up money for the future. Okay, so let's look at this. Janine last week spoke about, can you all hear me clearly? I just want to make sure I'm speaking at a loud enough voice level.
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Janine talked about last week in the synopsis of what was to come about your house. Building a solid house requires laying the proper foundation. You don't build a house and start with a roof sitting on the side. You don't build a house and start with the furniture, although it's tempting. The first thing you would do when you start thinking about, all right, if you want to go buy a home, start thinking about the furniture, the drapes and all of that. But that's well and dandy. But if you don't have the house to put it in, what's the point? You know, I love, I don't know about you, but how many of you love watching HDTV and all the other channels? I love DIYs. I mean, I just binge on them, you know.
I
I
do
look for
too.
exactly. I love those shows. And what I like about them is they always remind me of the homes that people go into, they may be beautiful with the furniture and the furnishings and all of that. But then when they want to restructure or refinance or redo the homes or update, and they start to build and they say, well, we just want to put a new window over here. And when they start pulling back the layers, they find out that a lot of times there's things in the foundation that stops them from moving forward, that they have to make some repairs on, that they have to maybe even relay the foundation in order to go forward with the new builds, so that the foundation will be a solid and be able to support whatever they're going to be adding on. And so if we look here at the bottom, the very bottom, when we're talking about it, you're talking about the cash flow budget and the protection. Those two are the bottom main areas that you start off with. Your cash flow budget, that's your income, your outgo, and that's written. And then you have your protection on the bottom there. And those are the main things, because while you're building wealth, you're going to need some things to put in place so that you have immediate wealth. And God forbid, if something happens to either one or both of the breadwinners in the family. If you have children, someone has to be able to take care of those children. Even if a sister or a grandparent steps in, those kids, you still want to provide for further education. You still want to provide, if that grandmother or that family member is working, who's going to do the daycare? You still want to provide those areas for that to continue on, you know? So you're going to might have to pay for a nanny or someone to come in and assist with that, and that takes finances. So if we look over here at Luke 14, 28, 30, that just reiterates what I was just saying about the foundations. For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? That's number one. Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation, is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him and saying, this man began to build and he wasn't able to finish. Or if he finished it, it wasn't up to par, because it wasn't strong enough to maintain. Okay. And that's where the areas, when you're talking about health insurance, auto insurance, and all of those main essentials come into play. The next level up is when you're talking about your emergency fund. If the refrigerator goes out, if you need new tires, that's why they're talking about 3 to 6 months of expenses in a money market fund for a market account, for example. Okay. With that, also on that level, you start looking at eliminating debt, any debt that you might have accumulated, those credit cards, whether they're the Visas, the MasterCards, the store credit cards, you want to keep those balances to a minimum. We'll talk about that more, the debt elimination, next week. Then you're going to go into the area of retirement. Okay. And that's when you're planning for the future, because you're going to be spending your money taking care of family and all when you're young. But at the same token, you can't wait until I'll put it this way. Some people do, but because of life, because of lack of knowledge or understanding, wait until their 50s and 60s to begin thinking about retirement. However, the ideal is to start at 18, because that's when you can start to begin with and then create the biggest bang, and the amount that you would have to set aside will be much lower than if you're much later in life trying to play catch up. Okay. And then also another area that you want to look at is say, okay, now I've got those main things in place because my family can be taken care of here. And then my family, I will be taken care of when I get older and I'm not able to, or I choose not to want to go out and do the 40 every week, 40 hours a week. Okay, that's when you're talking about the advanced financial planning. That's when you're talking about saving for college funds, accelerating your mortgage. Okay, saving for those dream vacations and that dream car. Okay, and then at the top, the roof, that's like the icing on the cake when you're talking about financial independence. That's where you have funds, and that's when you're able to outlive, okay? Your funds outlive you. And so that's when you're able to start with your legacy and being able to transfer that legacy, that financial legacy, not just your how can I say relational legacy, but your financial legacy onto your next generation. Okay. Okay. Did you know? There's just some facts here. 50% of people would struggle to come up with $2,000 for an unexpected expense. That would be to replace a refrigerator, you know? 4 in 10 struggle to pay their bills. 24% have no savings at all. Almost 40% of workers said that they'll never be able to afford to retire. It's interesting because when I was going through this and I saw that particular statement, I was at I was doing an event last week, similar to the one where I met you, Pastor, at Black Wall Street. And one of the ladies, and she must have been about my age, and she was saying, I said, have you thought about your retirement? And she says, I'm going to work until I die. And I said, well, do you have things in place? She said, nope, that's why I've got to work until I die. And I just said, we need to have a conversation, you know? And so when I was reading that, that's where I saw almost 40% of workers said that they will never be able to afford to retire, because a lot of times, like I said, life, not understanding, and just lack of the information, accessibility to that information, people wait until they're in later years to start talking about, thinking about retirement. Okay, so why create a budget? Okay, you got to, in order to get a grip on spending, okay, to save for retirement or a special purchase. We all have goals, we have dreams. Some people may want to start a business. You got to start saving for that. You don't want to wake up one day and say, I'm going to start a business. Where's your capital? Okay, you're not going to take from the electric bill in order to start a business. Okay, to know exactly where your hard-earned money goes each month, you know, and to avoid the debt trap. I was just listening to a report earlier today, and they were saying about the use of, because of the inflation rate, credit card debt has increased. Okay. So step one, find out where your money should go. Okay, so looking at this pie chart, and if we're looking here, we see this broken down into these, five areas, okay? Housing and debt, that's 25%. The other 25% is taxes. Janine spoke the other week about paying Caesar what's Caesar's and no more, you know? Living expenses, that's your food, your groceries, your the daycare, that's all of that type of thing. Then 20%, and the 7% for insurance and savings and investments and their tithing, that will go in that 20%. Okay. In an ideal budget, your monthly income should be divided up between those 5 categories. And debt, ideally housing and debt, to less than 15% for retirement years. Okay, because no matter what, when you do retire, you're not going to be making as much money in terms of the source, like the pension, the 401k, Social Security, as you were when you were actually working 40 hours. Or whatever the hour, 35 if you're in education. Okay, most American families live in a debt cycle versus a cash cycle. As you see over here, that you know, it's like spinning on a hamster wheel when the hamster is just running around and it's just in the same spot, but it's just keep going around debt. So they keep attacking the debt. Okay, and that's what the debt cycle. The finances control you, outspending your income. Okay, borrowing to maintain a lifestyle. Some of these are because of life, and some of them are by choice. Choosing to go out shopping when you know good and well, you know that electric bill is due. So now you're going to go and put that dress or that suit on on a credit card, paying off one debt and getting another. Okay, we'll talk, like I said, we're going to talk in more detail about debt next week. Then you're talking about the cash cycle, controlling your finances so that as you're spending, you're actually making headway. You're debt free. Because you don't say, I don't use credit cards. You can use a credit card because you can get points, you can get things with that. But at the end of the month, you've budgeted enough so that you're actually paying off that credit card. Paying with cash instead of borrowing. Investment, savings, and assets, being able to be in control so that you can start setting aside different areas for those things. Of all the threats to your financial security, none is more dangerous than debt. Okay. Most American families live in a debt cycle versus a cash cycle. The three challenges that most families face: not being properly protected, too much debt, not enough short-term and long-term savings. The solution? That's good. This is all going back to that first layer, that foundation building. Step one, protecting your family. Take care of loved ones when you're gone. That's when we're talking about the insurance, okay? The next step two is eliminate debt. Set up a debt freedom program, okay? Let me see, see if I can move this out of the way. No, it's not moving. Oh, okay. Step three, paying yourself first. Now, of course, in here, we are talking about the tithes is definitely included in this, okay? Tithes and your offerings.
So for this one, is are we defining short-term savings as emergency fund?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, I was asking, you said not enough short-term savings. How we're defining short-term savings, that emergency fund, that 3 to 6 month period?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, why is this not moving? Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're looking at goals, okay, versus values. Okay, tangible things or goals are tangible things that or experiences that carry a specific monetary value. Goals: pay down the debt. That's a goal. Okay, buy a house, travel. Those are goals. Values of that is intangible desires don't carry a price tag. Okay, those are the values. Your values. What is your value system? Making a difference, freedom, security. Okay, everyone has values. Do you know they're based on your family? Those are things that you come up with, and if you're married, you and your wife, the husband and wife would sit down, I would hope, and put those things together so that they're making sure that they're on one accord with what they're seeking for their family unit. Okay, so but here, and they're reusing this as an example. And the goals, like I said, paying down debt, that's a goal. You may not be able to do it in one day, but at least put something in place so that you can start to chip away from wherever you are, especially if you have a lot of debt. Okay, now let's look at over here. This is what's called the values ladder here. We're looking at Helen's value ladder. Her values are security, the first rung, being financially independent, and you can see she's an older woman, not being a burden to family, giving to family and not needing to take, and enjoying life with family now. She's older, so she has different values. Now, if she was 20 years old, I'm quite sure these values that she's looking at here would not be the same. She would probably be thinking about taking care of her kids, making sure her spouse is okay, and building enough for building towards retirement, buying a home. All those other things would be in there, making okay for her security. Okay, what is important? Why is it important? Those are conversations that you would have in your household. Okay, now here, like I was saying, there's a younger family here, John's values ladder. Bottom line is the first one is still security. Everyone wants to feel secure. I don't care who you are, whether you make $5,000 a year, or if you make $50 billion a year, you still want to be secure. Okay, freedom, no duty constraints, more time with his son, his family, feeling calmer and happier, not rushing, having a life, living longer, being an example to his son, and making a difference and helping other people. What's important? Why is it important to him? Because he's looking at building up another generation here. So he has something else, another goal that he's adding there. He's looking at what he's going to be investing in his next generation, his son. Okay, what I'm going to, I sent the pastor to send to you is this chart, so that you can, if you haven't begun to do this, you might have thought about it or vocalized it, but maybe sit down and put it pen to paper, and to actually sit and to do this, and then post it somewhere so that you're always reminded of, so that, as you go, as life happens, sometimes it's easier if you have that paper to kind of put you back on track, because life will happen. And sometimes we need those reminders so to help put the blinders back up so that we can stay focused and where we need to go. Okay. Now, the nitty-gritty of this budgeting. Okay, looking at this sample here of John's checkbook, when we have the two columns here, we have the living expensively, and then you have the living wealthy over here. Okay, so let's see what the difference between the two are. Okay, living expensively, 100. We see these prices. I mean, we can update this because right now it's probably a little bit more, in terms of suits and all. But if we're talking about doing this on a monthly basis, $150 for a laundry service. Car internet, they add in here car phone, so I changed it to the internet. Sometimes, you can get a car and have the internet actually piped in. That costs extra money, as opposed to just using your phone as a hotspot. Okay, $350 in eating out, clothing, shopping sprees, okay, leased cars, okay. Now, then looking over here, the difference, that's expensively. Now looking to the right over here on the living wealthy side, the bottom line, the bottom rung, that first level of stepping, security, making sure you are secure. Okay, making sure you have your financial house in place, making sure your values are intact and in place where they need to be. Freedom, no duty constraints. More time with son, family, feeling calmer, happier, okay? Not rushing, having a life, living longer and being an example, making a difference and helping others. That's living wealthy, okay? Because there's nothing like peace of mind. We always asking the Lord, we pray for the peace that surpasses all understanding. But sometimes we interrupt that peace by doing things like on the left-hand side, the living expensively, where, so that if we can curtail some of those things so that we can go back to continue to live, a much, how can I say, much enjoyable life where you're not stressed, so that you don't necessarily have to go out and get that fourth job, okay? Okay. John's goals: trade in lease cars within 90 days, dine out every other week instead of 3 times a week, bring lunch to work, reduce restaurant costs by 70%, okay? Reduce new clothing expenditures by 50%, okay? Those are things that you can look at when, what John did in his budget, eating out, if you have kids, yeah, we know that we're going to do the fast food here and there, but you can still limit what you do with that, going out to, say, let's say a Applebee's, or, that's about 15, 20 bucks when you add a tip in there per person, per visit. And if you're doing that twice a week, if you're saying, okay, I'm going twice a week, that's $40 a week. You stay 5 weeks in a month, 40 times, that's $200 just going to a restaurant. Okay, we're going to look later, especially when Janine talks about investing, what could we be doing with that $200? And we say, I don't have any money to put away to save. What could we be doing with that $200? You know, at the end of the month, that Applebee's is long gone, you know? Okay. Setting goals to make your values real. Write them down. As I said, with that chart, write them down. We talked about I know everyone has heard about SMART goals, goals that are attainable, goals that are real. You know, make your goals as easy as smack here. And here where you're saying specific, measurable, achievable. And achievable means you start within the next 48 hours and you share them with someone that you trust. Husband and wife, you're going to be working on those things. You can work separately, but you're also going to come together and put those ideas together so that they're a collective unit. And that's when you can actually support one another in the achievement. Okay. What challenges would you face and how will you overcome them? You know, those of us who are single, you may not have a husband or a spouse to share with, but you can share it with a sister or a brother or a close friend, you know? And bottom line, if you don't even have that, you can share them with God, because you can always make a commitment. Lord, help me to keep focused on this. Ask the Holy Spirit to come in and remind you of when you begin to step over into that, I'm going to charge it mode. He will remind you. He will definitely remind you. Just ask him, he'll do that, okay? What challenges will you face and how will you overcome them? And to make them compatible, make them real, you know? No, you know, if you have a family, especially, you know, it might be easier if you're single, but if you have a family, there may be 1 or 2 times out of the month that you want to eat out. That's just that's just being real. But you govern how you go about doing that and the way you go about doing that, you know? I'm a good one for going on Groupon, 2 for 1. Okay? You know, you can do a lot of things. There's activities, entertainment that you can get on Groupon, you know, 2 for 1. Okay. Step 3, figure out where you stand financially. Do you know where your money is? Okay. Find your stuff. Most people have things all over the place. And the evidence of that is when it's tax time. What are we doing? Tax time, what are we doing? Are we going to one specific place where all of our receipts are, all of our information is? Okay. Or are we looking in this drawer, this box, that bag, you know, this purse, this wallet, you know, trying to grab all of these things together? Or are we consistently disciplining ourselves and putting things in one spot, even if it's just taking a folder, you know, going to the Dollar Tree or something and getting one of those plastic envelope sleeves. Every receipt you get, just drop it in there. Okay, at least it may not be organized as much, but at least it's a start, because it's in one space. Okay, that's a start. I tell people that's a start. Okay, take financial inventory. Know where your stuff is. Find your stuff. Even in terms of when we get later on, when Janine's talking about, we're talking about retirement and investing. When you get ready to retire, I've spoken to so many people, and people have things all over the place, things at a past job, they have retirement accounts at past jobs, and they have 2 or 3 accounts here, account there, account over there. And then God forbid, and even, you know, even to have it all together, because God forbid something happens to you, whoever's going to take care of your affairs need to know where to go for your personal information. Okay. What does it mean? Pay yourself first. We talked about the order. We talked about the tithing, and then we talked about us last week. Janine went through, did an excellent job with going through that. Does someone want to share? Oh, okay. Okay. If anyone has a question, feel free to, raise your hand or let me know, because I can't see everyone. So it's okay to just say hello. Okay. Okay, what does it mean? And you can see this dollar bill, how it's broken up. That 28% more or less is federal taxes, 7.65, 55% your Social Security, the 9% is the average state tax, and that leaves the rest. Okay, how is that going to be broken up? And then here, now we're at step 5, the LAT factor. I touched on this a little bit earlier, how to create wealth on just a few dollars a day. Now I'm looking at this, and I was at, I stopped in, I think it was a Starbucks the other day, and I went to get a latte. It was more than $3. Just keeping it real. It was more than $3, but we're using these numbers to show. And this is something you say, the latte, Starbucks or Panera, the latte, the biscotti, protein shake, the Diet Coke, watching your calories after the biscotti and the latte. I don't know about the Diet Coke, how much good that's gonna do, really. And a candy bar, that's $10. And that was just one day. Okay. That was just one day. That's $10. So if we're looking at saving $7 savings per day, that's $221. That's because that's 7 times 30 days in a month, more or less, 210 per month. Okay. Then if you multiply $210 per month, that's nearly a little over $2,500 a year. Okay. A lot of people get that amount back in their income tax returns. Okay. $2,500 a year. Now, imagine that's just without even compounding. Later on, we're going to start talking about compounding interest, where that $200 a month can go into an account where you're compounding the interest. And that's what we're talking later on. 2520 per year with a 10% hypothetical, like I said, nothing's in stone, hypothetical growth rate in 42 years. Look what that could yield. And that's from $10 a day. That's from saving $10 a day. And most people would pick that up at breakfast on the way to work. On the way to work. And we spend these things without even, and we spend it without even thinking about it, without even realizing it. Okay.
Miss Ovetta, Secretary.
Yes.
Got a
Yes.
question. Are you guys still opening like if we want to sit down and have a session, like what you were saying, you would help us with the budget?
Yes.
We just have to call your number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's find control and let's find and control your own latte factor. And here we're saying, take the 7-day financial challenge. Give yourself a credit card haircut. Okay. Give yourself a waiting period on impulse purchases. Okay. How many of you, I know I did. Sometimes you get upset at work and you say, you know what? I deserve that purse. I deserve that manicure today. You know what I'm saying? I deserve those sneakers. I deserve, for guys, I deserve those Nikes, or whatever, those Air Jordans, That's impulse shopping. That's impulse, So instead of saying, I'm going to go and do this before you go into the store, sit in the car for a length of time before you go in and just think about it. And then think now, since I've shown it to you, see, that's the thing with knowledge. Once you've been given it, now you're responsible for it. Okay. Because Now, when we go back with the spending, you're going to think about the biscotti, the biscotti, and spending the extra the 350 protein drink. No, that's just for a can. But if you go into one of those places, you're going to spend about $7.50 for a protein drink. That's the real, correct? Okay. You're going to think about these things. And you're going to realize you can make your own protein drink at home. You know?
Miss Roberta,
Sure.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. I
Sure.
don't drink Starbucks like that every day, but I just went on TikTok one day, and you know, TikTok's got everything on there now. They'll show you how to make your own little thing. So I
Exactly.
sometimes I want to take coffee, or we got a coffee machine at my job. You can go
Mhm.
buy some things and use that Keurig at work. That's what I do. And so
Exactly.
I went and bought cold brew coffee and mixed it with, sometimes I might put protein in it. Sometimes I might
Exactly.
do, I'll put some heavy cream in it, you know, to give it a little
Mhm.
taste with, then buy you a little bit of flavor to put in if you want to do like a cold brew coffee. And I've saved money
Right.
because it's almost $6 or $7 now. I'm not saying I don't go to Starbucks sometime, but it's not on
No,
an
we all
everyday basis. No.
exactly. We all, I mean, just being real, we all going to buy something, just because we're human and we say, okay, I got a taste for this. I got to, but like you said, it doesn't have, like Tawanda was sharing, it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. Buying lunch out every day. It doesn't have to be every day. You say, well, I'm busy. One thing what I do, and I still do, I don't have any young children, but because I know I can get busy during the week. And then, because, then you got Sunday, you got church, and when we get home from church, who feels like cooking after church, So what I do is, like, on a Saturday, if I'm home and I haven't gone out for an appointment or whatever, I cook a few meals. And I break them up and I freeze them so that when I come in, I don't necessarily have to stop at the store and buy fast food. I got food at home already prepared. All I got to do is take it out and nuke it, put it in the microwave, And are there going to be times when you want to sit down and eat out? Yes, but you budget it in. You budget it in so that it's not just impulse all the time. Okay, because that goes back to when I was talking about your goals and setting up your goals. Okay, when you're doing your goals and you're setting up your budget, you're going to make it comfortable so that that it is still livable. Okay. Gather the information that you need to get started. That's step 2. How much money is coming in and how much is going out? Do you know? Like I said, when I used to sit with families and we talk, and especially, sometimes I like to when just the husband would come or just the wife would come, because sometimes you have World War II going on because, when they start talking about what they're spending because each one's doing a different thing, and how much money is coming in and out. And this is going to be an eye opener. Gather every financial statement that you have, all of your bank statements, your investment accounts, your most recent utility bills. Gather all of those things. Chart them. Note all of your sources of income, even those side hustles. A lot of people are working their full-time jobs, but sometimes they're picking up the DoorDash. They may not do it on a regular basis, but here and there, they might do a DoorDash or whatever. The Uber, start charting that, okay? So you can at least get an average, and if you notice that during the month that you may not do those things every day of the month, but if you're looking at it, it's like, wait a minute, I'm doing this about 10 times a month. Average that out, because then that becomes the income that you're basically going to be bringing in, okay? Note all of your sources of income. And create your list of monthly expenses. Your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, your auto and health insurance, your groceries, utilities, entertainment, if you're saving for college, daycare, all of those areas, okay? Gyms, If you plan like Planet Fitness, oh, it's only $10 a month. It's $10 a month. Put it down. Okay. And that's when you're going to create a budget here. Okay. So Pastor will be sending you one that looks like this, but let me show you. I have another, I'll show you in a moment. I have another one that he's going to send you that's has another level of on it. Okay. So you're going to budget and put everything down here. Okay. Go through yours, and I'm going to tell you, sometimes you may not see it, but take out your bank statement and look at your debits. Because sometimes we have things coming out, subscriptions coming out that we forgot about, that we don't even use. Okay. And 99 cents here, $1 here, $5 here, those, they add up. You can end up spending $25 in something a month and you're not even using it. Okay. So that's why I say comb through your bank account, bank statement. Okay. Now that you created a list of your monthly expenses, separate your expenses into 2 categories. Fixed. Those are those expenses that are going to basically stay the same. That's going to be your mortgage, your car payment, your auto insurance, basically the credit card payments, as long as you're not adding to those credit cards. Okay. Your insurance. Okay. Student loans. And then the variable expenses, that's going to be the groceries, the entertainment, the dining out, the gifts, don't forget the birthday, the Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Children's Day, just because day, those gifts, they can add up. So you start thinking ahead about, okay, so what gifts are you going to be giving out within the next year? Because then you don't have to say, oh, I got to put that on a credit card. But if you're thinking about it, then you can start saying, well, I spend about $400 a year on gifts, baby showers, that type of thing. And then you say, okay, 400 divided by 12, how much do I need to set aside for that?
I ain't spending no more.
Okay. Total up your monthly income. Total up your monthly expenses. And then if your income total is greater than the expense total, you're off to a great start. Because now you can see where you might have extra, where you can have extra money that you can start putting into retirement and or putting towards your debt resolution. Okay. And now, but the flip of that, if the expenses are greater than your income, then you got to fix some things. Those are the adjustments that you have to make. Those are the hard decisions that you have to make. And in order to do that, that's when you want to go back to that values ladder to help keep you on track, to say, okay, I can't go to Miss Susie B's every Friday night, and get if you know what I'm saying. I might have to get Miss Susie B's recipe and make it at home. It's like Tawanda, right? So that's what you might have to do. If the expenses are greater than your income, like the Winding Brothers old school used to sing, it's time to make a change. Okay. And here's the less glamorous part. If your expenses do exceed your income, you're going to have to make some adjustments. That's if you really want to take it seriously and reach those goals that you really want. Not necessarily that you really want. I'm going to say it, that you need to make. You're going to have to just step up, pull up the pants, and just keep it moving and do what's necessary in order to get yourself back in alignment. You know, just like driving a car, you can tell when your car is out of alignment. When you're driving and you're going this way and your car wants to go to the left and you really want to go to the right, you know it's time to take it in for an alignment, okay? It may not be easy, but the first thing to do is get in the mindset, looking at that values chart and beginning the journey. First steps. Find those areas where you can cut back. Take a look at your variable expenses first. Those are always the easiest ones to find to cut back. Okay. Now, before we move on, let me show you something. I'm going to stop share for a minute. Is everybody good? I can see everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing great.
Okay, let me show you something. I'm going to share something else here. Let's see here. Here it is. Okay, can you all see this Excel spreadsheet? Let me make it a little bigger so it's legible.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What I did here, this is a budget that I have as an Excel. And you have the other one that lists everything. And I asked that this is like a two-step. The other one that listed everything, start with that one, because then that way you can truncate and combine some expenses. Okay. Then over here on this one, it's going to show where, let's see, let me make it a little bit smaller. Oh, can you all see this clearly?
Mhm.
It's good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what you're going to do is this is a sample one here. This is, I'm using as the primary is working, and then another person is, let's say retired. So here's their pension, they may be getting Social Security. Okay. So here it shows the gross. Okay. And this is good, especially if someone is contemplating purchasing a home. Because now you're looking at your two incomes. Because if you're purchasing a home, the lender is going to be looking at gross. Okay. But we know we don't live on the gross. Oh, how we wish we could live on the gross, correct? That would be the fun thing. But we live on the net. That's the real. Okay. And so you can see, I just made up some numbers here just to show as an example. So you see the net on this family, this family is here, $5,800 a month. That's what they're living on. Let's say their mortgage and or rent payment is like $1,750. Okay. And then over here, we have, is this the one I wanted? Yeah. And then over here, we have electric bill, gas bill, water, auto insurance, gasoline, groceries, $550, then eating out, $250. That's those lattes. Okay, we got the cell phone bill, your tithing, offerings, childcare, clothing expense a month. This is all 1 month. Okay. And I just put in there's other bills that you can put in here, because you're going to make, when you get it, you can make it your own. Okay. And if you can see, let me go back a little bit. Up here, when you go here, what's going to happen, you have your gross and you have your net. Then over here, and it's going to show you based on your gross, and this part right here is going to be based on the gross. And it's saying that the $1,750 is 22% of the gross income there. Okay. So in terms of housing, that's at a safe spot at that point, because you want it to be under like 31%. Okay. 31%. Okay. Now, then you can see over here, it's showing that this family is 5.24% of their incomes going for utilities. Okay. So this breaks down the other budget a little bit more so that you can actually see numbers. Okay. So that you can see exactly what you're spending here. And you can see over here, the healthcare, and then down here with debt, 713. That's just this debt. That's not housing there. So monthly, that's what this is spending. So would you say this family has an issue, even though it's saying 9%? But would you say that this family still has an issue? You know what I'm saying? You know, they still need to work on getting those, the auto loan, you're going to expedite that because but the difference between these two here are the student loan, basically, if it's with the government, it's going to be as fixed. Okay. The auto loan is fixed. The credit cards, those are variable. That changes. That's a revolving interest rate. Okay. So in tackling these, you would probably want to make sure you hit those credit cards to get them down. All right. And then we go down, look at this. Like I said, we don't live on the gross, we live on the net. What's coming up here? A deficit of what? $158. So when you're using this and you see that there's a deficit with what, you know, with you're looking at your own personal information, $158, what would you do? Based on values and that we talked about earlier, what would be the adult thing to do? Ignore it? No, because that $158, that's the reason for these credit cards. Okay. That $158, you can go back up here and go through this budget. What areas can I cut? What areas can I trim down? Well, you may not necessarily be able to trim down your electric bill, but maybe you can. Maybe you can. Maybe you can remember to turn off the lights when you're not in the room. Okay. Maybe you can change revisit your thermostat settings for, we're here down here in Georgia with the air conditioning. You know, if you're not home during the day, does your air conditioning have to stay at a certain level? Can you change the numbers and then have them program it so it comes back up to cool your house off a little bit more? You're not going to turn it off because then it would take so much power to bring it back up to where it needs to be in order to bring the house back to a livable level for air conditioning. But you can change the setting a little bit so that when you get ready to come home, so you're not using that electricity all day long in an empty house. And if it builds up like that, by the time you get home, you're cold anyway. Now, you know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Auto insurance. You can revisit your auto insurance because you can call, you can look and see, okay, am I getting the best rates? Go back and look at your policy. Are you getting the best rates that you can? Maybe able to rework some rates there. Okay. Not changing the level of coverage, not diminishing the level of coverage necessarily, but you might be able to get better rates. Your groceries, you know what your family calls for, okay? Look and see what you're bringing in, what's going in the grocery cart. You may be able to bring that down. Coupons, okay? No shame in that, coupons. It's called being a good steward, bottom line. Especially if you got your values in place and you're saying, I want to save for this. I'm trying to buy a house. I need to save every penny I can get. You know, I want to put money away for my kids' college. I need to save some money for that. Okay. I need to start retirement. I haven't done anything. So I need to at least start with something, at least $25, $50, you know? If I can find that in my budget that I'm working, then that's money that I can use to begin the process. If I don't have an emergency fund, if my refrigerator goes out, can I pay the repairman? He wants at least $75 just to show up at the door. Okay. Eating out. Like I said, Groupon, take advantage of some of the other, areas, and you don't have to go out all the time. Like Tawanda said, make some things at home. If you have kids, and I know the kids like to eat out or whatever, but you can make it fun. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have a lot. We definitely didn't have these I grew up in Jersey. So we definitely didn't have the fast food restaurants, McDonald's and Burger King and all the other stuff on every corner. So, but it was a family, we had a family of 7, my mom, dad, and 5 girls. And so a lot of times what my mom would do is say, you know what, we're going to have pizza night. And they didn't necessarily have the money to go out and buy pizza, enough to feed everyone, but she would improvise and she would make it fun. She would use English muffins, and we would get together as a family unit and create our own mini pizzas. And then she would go in the living room and spread a blanket on the floor, and we would have a picnic. But we were all still sitting there, and we were all we're bringing back family time together. Real family time, so that everybody's not in their own room on the video games or watching TV. When we didn't have video games back then, but we had a TV in here or there, and you'd off in your own space. She would create those things when we would have family time. Like I said, you can be creative with things that you do. Okay. Your internet service, internet and or cable bill, $175. Are you really watching all of those sports channels? Are we really watching all of those sports channels? I mean, be keeping it real. I just went back and I'm like, you know what? I watch about 5 channels. HGTV, Hallmark, because the other stuff, the news channels like 247, that kind of thing. And I'm like, do I really need all of the other stuff? I went and I cut it. Because I'm quite sure everybody on this call has a Roku or a Fire Stick. Am I right? And how many freebies are on that streaming? So I'm just, using this as an example. You want to keep internet in your house, but you don't necessarily need it. And it doesn't have to be a lifetime of that. It could be for these next 6 months or this next 2 years that I need to really scale back and get kind of bare bones, but comfortable, livable, so that I can go and I can put my things in order so that I can get my first rung, my security on my first rung together. I'm sorry, I'm going to get into the 8 o'clock time, together so that I can begin to get my house in order. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Miss Obese.
Okay, before I change that, what I wanted to also show you that when using this, let's say, for example, you decide to cut cable. Let's say you cut it $100 off. You can go use the second column over here, and that's going to change it. And that's going to change that will change some of the numbers. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. That's absolutely right. I cut cable about maybe 2 or 3 years ago and got the Fire Sticks. And I said I was going to do it for a short period of time when I got the Fire Sticks, because of course cable had went up. But to me, it was a lot cheaper. I was saving a lot more. So I don't even use cable. I just use the internet, but I use the Fire Sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miss Obese.
Each family has their own thing, but I'm just using that as an example. That's what works for me. I don't have any little kids. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm able to do a lot of more streamlined, but your family situation, what your needs are.
I want to say something, ask you something really.
Yes.
Like when you say when we cut back or we like on certain things, okay, should we save that or should we use that extra money to try to pay more than get the credit card down, or to maybe pay out that credit card, or maybe pay out something?
Exactly.
You know, because
That's the
you
whole
need to
point.
pay it out before you can start saving. So I think
Exactly.
that would
Perfect.
help.
Exactly. That's exactly where we were going with that. When you're pulling that money out. Number one, if you have a deficit, that means if you can fulfill that. So now you're not going to be using that credit card to fulfill that deficit.
Yeah.
Okay. So now then the next thing is, if now that deficit is zero, now that money that you've been saving and you pulled out. So let's say it's a $50, $100. Okay, which one of these credit cards am I going to attack?
Yes,
And put
ma'am.
that money towards that credit card to get it down. If I don't have any life insurance, if I have no life insurance, I need to put some things in place for God forbid something happens to me or one of my immediate family members. I don't have that. The loved ones don't have to do GoFundMe. It breaks my heart when I see that.
I know.
Okay. Or if you have a credit card, no one wants to put a funeral on a credit card and then have to pay it and be reminded of that every single month with every credit card payment.
Don't want that payment.
Am I right? So thank you. That was great that you brought that up. Let me just go back and I just wanted to look at the PowerPoint real quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything here. I got all the way down. Nope, I think I got everything in there. Yep. I have everything. Okay, yep, we covered everything. So you guys, those that were asking about my information, you have my information. I'll put it back up. Okay. Commit to the Lord, whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. I tell you, the Holy Spirit, he will remind you of what you asked him. He will remind you of your promise that you made. Okay. He will remind you. Not to condemn you, not to make you feel guilty, but it's just a reminder because if you said it with earnestness, if you said, Lord, help me, and he knew your heart, that from the bottom of your heart that you really wanted that help, he will definitely step up and remind you. Okay.
Miss Orbetta,
Yeah.
I was gonna say something about vacation because I like to do stuff, but you know what? I was thinking, this is just for me.
Yeah.
I was thinking about vacation and stuff like that, which I've already had to pay for one. But this
Yeah.
is the thing I had to, what I'm telling myself about vacation. If I'm in debt and I got credit card debt, there's no need of even me going on vacation until I pay that credit card debt down, unless I've got that money saved. So this year I've already paid for what I've got to pay for. But I was like, in the years,
Going
the
forward.
next one if I want to do something going forward, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that to myself. I need to pay debt down. You don't go on vacation if you got debt out there. You should, unless you got money, that money that you put towards going on a vacation or whatever, you could pay your debt down. I'm just saying it's hard because I like to do stuff. I
Exactly.
like entertainment. I like to do all that, but I can't do what the next person is doing. I've got to look at myself, and it's not always an easy thing. It's not. I like to do stuff. I think we all do, but vacations, I like to do vacation. Like I said, I've already paid for one, but that money that I put on that cruise I'm going on, I could have put towards some of my debt
I
I
understand
have.
what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Tawanda. That's great. Like I said, everyone knows their family. Everyone knows your family situation, going on vacation, you might, like you say, next year, instead, you like to go and do things. Instead of doing like a 2-week, whatever, just go to the next state. Go stay in a hotel for a night and pamper yourself. It's cheaper than spending $4,000, or $5,000 on something, and when you can use it for something else, there's, like I said, Groupon. There's so many ways of doing things that you can have fun. How many of you have gone to the local museums? Those are local things that you can do and still feel special, pampered, So, those are just some of the thoughts and suggestions that I, just wanted to share. I just hope they were helpful to everyone. And
Amen. Amen to
We
that.
thank you so much.
Amen. Mother Mandy had her hand raised. Ma, you had a question? You muted?
No question, Pastor.
Okay, okay. Somebody else sound like they was trying to get in with a question.
Mhm.
You have a question? Well, again, that's just blessed. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is powerful. And this has been a blessing. This has been a blessing. Ms. Moore, you gonna chime in before we log off?
Yeah, I just, like I said, this is all fun to me. I just love being able to share, you know, and I just, I'll just pray, I just pray. I know pastors will probably want to pray us out, but, I'm just praying for over everyone that they receive the knowledge and the information that they need. Lord, just touch them to bring remembrance, all the things that you want them to have specially for them, because each and every one's situation and their families and whatever is going on in their lives. And I ask that you direct them to the areas that they need to focus on, and that you assist them as they reach out to you for that assistance, Father, and that you guide them. And I just thank you, Father, for them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Janine, you want to
Amen.
give us the final word?
Yeah, I think about what Orvetta said, and sometimes it can be daunting and it can be really overwhelming. And it sure does help when you have fellowship, when you get to come together. And I truly believe that's why Jesus wanted us to come together every week, which is to encourage each other and to support each other. And, Orvetta said, if you don't have a spouse, if there's somebody that you can share confidence with, and again, it might not be Orvetta and it might not be me, it might not be Pastor, but that you take the information, the seeds that have been sown, and you find someone to partner with and say, hey, let's help each other stay accountable. And it's not that you're not going to make mistakes. And Tawanda, sometimes you have to go on that vacation because mental health,
Exactly.
physical health is super important. And so we're not telling you to neglect yourself either. We're just saying find a balance, a reward, so make little tiny steps and then reward yourself with that latte, right? Just make sure that the latte is not a latte money every month, that it's balanced somewhere in there, right?
Yes.
And take time to reward yourself, give yourself little pats on the back and say, hey, I've done really well. I paid this credit card off. I'm going to go get a massage and then I'm going to hit it strong again next week. And you've got Orvetta there who's been doing this for over 2 decades, to just have a buddy, somebody there that's going to help you, not put you down, but to edify you and build you up. So thank you, Pastor.
Amen to that accountability partner. We had that in one of our Bible study lessons. Kudos in the chat. Powerful message. Someone asked about the budget plan that you shared, the second one. Could you send that out?
Yeah, I sent that to you, Pastor, earlier today.
Okay.
That's one of the ones I sent you.
Okay.
The Excel.
Excellent. Okay, we'll get that out to everyone. We'll send it to Pam and have Pam send it out to everyone.
Yeah, that and the ladder. The
And the
ladder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the ladder handout as well.
Mhm.
We'll get it out. We'll get it out first thing tomorrow. God bless you, family. Wonderful, wonderful time with Sharon. Ms. Moore, thank you so much. Janine, thank you so much. See you this weekend. Be blessed.
Yes. God bless everyone.
Be blessed.